would love to say that this story right here is completely and totally unbelievable, but at the same time, though, given the society that we live in, it really and truly does not surprise me. But we definitely got to talk about this because the smugness and arrogance of this entire situation tells me that we are, in fact, living in the last days.
Near Orlando, after a Florida private school expelled 2 children over a dispute with their mother. At issue, a sticker on Michelle Klein's car promoting her Onlyfans page.
It's definitely linked to, explicit content, adult content for sure. My husband and I have this, little wild, behind closed doors lifestyle that we've now decided to share.
Onlyfans is an online platform often used by adult content creators to monetize photos and videos. Other parents at Liberty Christian Preparatory School are not fans of promoting that site.
That's a distraction to my children, and no matter how poorly or how good I parent, porn is there.
At first, the school asked Klein not to bring the car on campus unless the decal was removed and urged her to drop her kids off across the street.
I was forced to have to, take it off or not come on campus.
And then the school sent a letter saying your family's enrollment with LCPS is terminated effective immediately, accusing Klein of promoting a pornographic website, but still offering the possibility to re-enroll her kids if she removes the sticker.
Why not take the decal off?
And that would seem like an easy thing to say, for sure. But for me, it supports my family. This provides a very comfortable way of life for us. And it's legal. I pay taxes just like everyone else.
Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, New York.
Before we start on this, I want you to go ahead and know that this story has actually been around for a couple of weeks. I just now got to it, and I figured it would be a nice story to kind of close the week, meaning it would close the actual weekday portion of the channel. There's probably going to be a few videos out on Saturday, including a little rant that I decided to, let's just say I'm deciding to replace one video for another because I'm waiting for some finality on said situation. I'll explain a little bit more towards the end of this video. And of course, to go on top of this video tomorrow, there's going to be another one coming out of New York City, that favorite wonderful place where a lot of migrants are being shipped, because we got an even crazier situation to talk about tomorrow. But this situation right is pretty well crazy on its own. Now, guys, I've done a few videos here and there on the whole Onlyfans thing and exactly what it could actually do to society, why it's actually a problem, why it is that Onlyfans girls, ETOTs, are going to find themselves without a job, why it is that they're finding themselves in the middle of a bubble economy, why it is they're not making the money that they think they're making. But when a situation actually hits home, and what I mean by hitting home, it means it actually hits the schoolyard, then the situation becomes a lot harder. Now, there are some people out here who are going to try to connect this to, let's just go ahead and say, women not understanding men, or definitely not understanding their sons. I personally think that this lady is going out of her way to destroy her kids, whether she wants to accept it or not. But of course, there's going to be a bigger video on why it is that OnlyFans is a problem, especially when it comes to relationships and of course when it comes to families in the future. But still, at the same time, though, just for the time being, I'm going to link this video right here in the description box, which of course focuses on the family aspect. Sydney Watson did a phenomenal job on this, where this video right here is going to be focusing more on the arrogance, the smugness, and of course exactly what happens at the school. So make sure you guys stick around for the full video, because obviously as a male, then I'm going to need to give a certain type of perspective, especially when it comes to being the child in this type of situation. With that right there being said, let's go ahead and look at this first part.
Private Christian school. For an interview on Monday, a spokesperson said no comment. Now a total of 8 children, 2 from the original OnlyFans complaint, and now Thomas's 6 kids have all been expelled this month.
I feel like as a Christian institute, you have to make a stand for biblical truth if that's what you're going to proclaim.
Thomas says she doesn't regret venting on TikTok.
I'm angry because I feel like if this has been a running problem, then this is a threat to my children's innocence.
Now, the school letter that Lexi Thomas received says if she refrains from further gossip and removes her references about this on social media, then school officials will set a time to discuss next steps about re-enrollment. Lexi says her content is going to stay up. She is not taking down her truth.
Now, really quick, before we go any further, that 50-some-odd second clip, as you guys can obviously see, there was a parent who obviously chose to say something about the OnlyFans girl, Michelle Klein, who goes by the name Piper Fawn, which is, I think, a very, very strange name, but still at the same time. The point is this right here. You're showing up to a private school. I understand you got your kids, but you've got this great big giant Onlyfans sticker on the back of your car. Now, whether men are there to pick up their kids, which I'm going to go ahead and take a wild guess and say it's mostly women who are there to pick up their kids, mostly housewives. Don't worry, we'll get more into this towards the end of the video, but they're obviously there to pick up their children. I have no idea why you want to advertise this. Now, of course, this person's going to sit here and they're going to say, well, obviously it's how I make my living. It's, I'm just simply, I get it. And obviously you're going to hear this person's excuses a little bit later on in the video. But for the time being, I need to go ahead and say this. Showing up to a school, especially a private school, is probably a horrible idea if you're going to do this for a multitude of reasons. And by the way, I'm not just talking about the morality and the school issue here and exactly why it is that this woman's completely, totally dumb, smug, and arrogant and completely wrong. I'm just simply here to say, look, and don't worry, we'll get to the other part here in a second. I'm sitting here simply saying you've got to be an extremely stupid or extremely arrogant person to just throw that out there before you go pick up your kids from school, especially at a private school, which is also a Christian school. And really quick, before somebody says that this right here is a First Amendment violation or somebody's violating this person's First Amendment rights, I want to go ahead and say this right now. This is not the case. Private schools, private institutions can pretty much do whatever the hell they want. If a private school does not like the way you are dressed, they can expel you. If they don't like something that your parent does for a living, they can say, screw you, we're not going to accept you. You can think that's screwed up if you want to, but it's just the way that it is. It's not a public institution. And even public schools would probably get upset over this because obviously at the end of the day, you've got to educate kids, you got to educate children. There's something else too that you're going to pick up here momentarily. A lot of the kids at this school, they're not exactly all high schoolers. Most of these kids are actually elementary age, middle school age. It's a private school. But still though, most of the kids that are going to this place, they're not exactly, how do I say, not all of them are teenagers. Not all of them are as well versed on what's going on in society and can't exactly understand things. But still at the same time, it doesn't mean that it's okay to go out to a school and basically broadcast what you do for a living on the back of your car. Now, really quick, before we go any further, that 50 some odd second clip, as you guys can obviously see, there was a parent who obviously chose to say something about the OnlyFans girl, Michelle Klein, who goes by the name Piper Fawn, which is, I think, a very, very strange name, but still at the same time. The point is this right here. You're showing up to a private school. I understand you got your kids, but you've got this great big giant OnlyFans sticker on the back of your car. Now, whether men are there to pick up their kids, which I'm going to go ahead and take a wild guess and say it's mostly women who are there to pick up their kids, mostly housewives. Don't worry, we'll get more into this towards the end of the video, but they're obviously there to pick up their children. I have no idea why you want to advertise this. Now, of course, this person's going to sit here and they're going to say, well, obviously it's how I make my living. It's, I'm just simply, I get it. And obviously you're going to hear this person's excuses a little bit later on in the video. But for the time being, I need to go ahead and say this. Showing up to a school, especially a private school, is probably a horrible idea if you're going to do this for a multitude of reasons. And by the way, I'm not just talking about the morality and the school issue here and exactly why it is that this woman's completely, totally dumb, smug, and arrogant and completely wrong. I'm just simply here to say, look, and don't worry, we'll get to the other part here in a second. I'm sitting here simply saying you've got to be an extremely stupid or extremely arrogant person to just throw that out there before you go pick up your kids from school, especially at a private school, which is also a Christian school. And really quick, before somebody says that this right here is a First Amendment violation or somebody's violating this person's First Amendment rights, I want to go ahead and say this right now. This is not the case. Private schools, private institutions can pretty much do whatever the hell they want. If a private school does not like the way you are dressed, they can expel you. If they don't like something that your parent does for a living, they can say, screw you, we're not going to accept you. You can think that's screwed up if you want to, but it's just the way that it is. It's not a public institution. And even public schools would probably get upset over this because obviously at the end of the day, you've got to educate kids, you got to educate children. There's something else too that you're going to pick up here momentarily. A lot of the kids at this school, they're not exactly all high schoolers. Most of these kids are actually elementary age, middle school age. It's a private school. But still though, most of the kids that are going to this place, they're not exactly, how do I say, Not all of them are teenagers. Not all of them are as well versed on what's going on in society and can't exactly understand things. But still, at the same time, it doesn't mean that it's okay to go out to a school and basically broadcast what you do for a living on the back of your car.
The pickup line at Liberty Christian Prep School in Tavares.
I'm stunned. I'm shocked. I was disgusted. Why am I looking at this?
The car has an Onlyfans decal on it, advertising a site that includes pornography.
Text him and I said, yeah, this is not cool. We're gonna do something about this.
And that set off a social media firestorm and led to the school expelling the 2 children of the mom driving around with the Onlyfans ad. We spoke with Michelle Klein last week.
I don't feel like I should be judged for what I'm doing.
Roughly 38 seconds long, but there's something I want you guys to pay very, very close attention to that I'm going to play one more time right there at the very, very end. See if you actually notice something.
Michelle Klein last week.
I don't feel like I should be judged for what I'm doing.
Really quick, if you noticed a bunch of kids obviously playing basketball, there's a reason why I left that in there. You see, I wanted that segment to run an additional half second. Obviously, you heard the lady, Michelle Klein, Piper Fawn, say she does not think that she deserves to be judged. Well, honey, you deserve to be judged. I'm just going to go ahead and say that right now, not only for doing what it is that you're doing, but also being stupid. But here's the reason why I left this in here. You see, oftentimes the mainstream media has something that they can quite frankly milk to get more views, to actually make a story much, much better or much, much juicier. They'll do that. In this case right here, the media, the local outlets, obviously did not have anything else to go off of, or it's very, very possible that said lady may have said a bunch of other things and she was just straight up cut off, meaning that the news, they may have been trying to paint something, but don't worry, it's not like they were trying to paint this woman in a negative light. And I'll tell you how they know they didn't, because she would later on do an interview where she basically spilled the entire beans, and they tried to do everything they could to kind of paint her into a positive light. I think what the hell happened in this case was that she let out a lot more details on what the hell was going on, and that the local media said, well, there's no way in hell we can spin this right here into a positive. That is probably what the hell happened here, because obviously this is not a positive. Lady, you are showing up to a private school where you've got a bunch of kids and you are advertising your OnlyFans page. You are advertising your way of life, which is sex work. And you guys aren't even making a whole lot of money on that, but we'll get to that a little bit more so towards the end of the video. The point is this right here. This is a private institution, kids, and obviously Mama Bear has got a reason to say something about another Mama Bear advertising sex work. Now, I can hear somebody say, well, maybe she didn't. No. Trust me, she thought about what she was doing. There's no way in hell you did not think about what you were doing. There's no way in hell somebody is this daggone stupid. I just figured I'd point that out there. But of course, the school would eventually get pissed off, and of course they would in fact go after Miss Thomas, the lady who said something about this.
And have been kicked out of the school too, because she aired her complaints on social media. This is the letter Thomas provided Fox 35. It says in part, a student may be expelled as a result of a parent or student causing unresolved disharmony and conflict with staff or other parents. Thomas says she disagrees and says she was just venting about what she saw on the school pickup line.
I think they created disharmony within the community by allowing for pornography to be advertised for 2 years on private Christian school grounds.
Thomas's letter, signed by the head of the school, goes on to say, Matthew 18, starting in verse 15, tells Christ followers how to approach conflict with other believers. LCPS believes that standard was not met, which led to your concerns being made public worldwide.
We can sit here and we can say that maybe this woman is being based by simply saying, look, I'm not taking down anything social media related, anything that I've said. And you know what? She'd be 100% correct. She's absolutely 100% based. Mama Bear did not like the idea of these children being exposed to what this lady's line of work is. Of course, the kids are going to start asking some very, very strange questions. But you see, the reason why it is that I'm putting that video from Sydney Watson in the description box, the effects of OnlyFans on families, is because one thing that a lot of women, especially nowadays, don't seem to understand, and I guess the fathers are just completely and totally checked out, is that little boys, especially when they are, I'd say, between the ages of 7 and, I'd say all the way through high school, boys as a whole, they're oftentimes around other boys. And those boys oftentimes get picked on. I mean, can you think about something? I mean, think about this really quick. You're a 9, 10-year-old little boy. Your mama takes her clothes off for a living, and other little kids, they've hacked accounts. They've actually seen that your mama's breast or something like that there. And, of course, they laugh at you behind your back. And next thing you know, the little boy's a little bit paranoid. Oh, my God, they're picking on me. And, of course, there's also been cases of kids wanting to self-delete or claiming they wanted to self-delete because of what their mama wanted to do for a living. Basically, they can't accept the fact that their mama basically decided to put all of her dirtiness out there online. And, of course, everybody believes that old boy's mom is a whore. That right there is the real truth of the situation. Yes, I know this video is probably going to get demonetized, and the ads are going to be limited by me just simply saying the word whore. Or hooer, or however the hell you might want to say it. Basically, what's going on here is that this lady's hoeing, even though she may not be screwing other dudes, even though she's doing this type of content with her husband, still makes her look like a great big giant hoe. And it's not something that little boys want to go to school with, having other little boys basically call their mama a hoe. It's obviously something that, like I just said, they just don't want to deal with. It's hurtful, it's painful, and obviously mama does not seem to realize what the hell she's doing to her child. But, of course, it gets a lot worse. You see, this lady would eventually go and do an actual interview on local television, and here's some of it.
And driving that vehicle on school property.
All right, so this morning we are joined by Michelle Klein to talk to us more about this. Michelle, it is good to see you this morning. We're kind of far, but I'll shake your hand.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so I want to get right into this here about this controversy. How long had the sticker been on your car before it was noticed by a parent?
Approximately 2 years.
And had you had any issues prior to that 2 years?
No, ma'am, nothing.
So they came to you and said, we've got a problem, there's been a complaint about this, and then how long ago was that?
Approximately 3 weeks ago, I actually got an email from an angry parent that had found me on Facebook, and she reached out to me, and it wasn't until the next day that I got an email from the school saying I couldn't have my car on the property any longer.
The smugness and arrogance on this lady's face, I think, says it all. But something else, too, about Piper Fawn or Michelle Klein, whichever one you might want to call her. I just think Piper Fawn is just an extremely weird name. Something that needs to be said really quick is that when she said that she had had it out there for 2 years, I find that hard to believe that nobody noticed for 2 years. Maybe people did notice for 2 years and they just didn't say anything until recently. Maybe it took a parent with much, much larger balls, one that was much, much more based to come out and say anything. But still, at the same time, I just find it very hard to believe that somebody had that out there for 2 years and nobody actually noticed or said anything before. Why somebody didn't say anything to her, I'm pretty sure somebody did. But then again, at the same time, though, it's not uncommon for people to just give the look rather than just say something outright. As I said before, I think this is one of those cases where parents probably dealt with this. They kind of did the whole grin and bear it thing for a little while, and then finally somebody decided to step up and say something. That right there could be what it is, or it could be a situation where, and something else too I need to say, how it was that this lady did not think about the possibility that her kids, her sons, whatever, could in fact face some form of backlash over this is just baffling to me.
So I want to ask you, what was your reaction to the kids kind of being expelled or kicked out of the school? Did you think that had crossed a line?
I do, yes, because I feel like when they came to me and asked me to not be on property any longer with my vehicles, I immediately obliged. I wasn't back on property one more time since then, and I did what I was asked, but then I felt like, like that wasn't enough. It's like they had to take it further, and now I feel like it was being taken on the kids because they weren't an issue. Their behavior, their grades, anything like that wasn't a problem. It's just simply someone didn't like my car decal, so I removed it from the property, and yet
Other parents to be upset with you.
That's the only parent that's came to me with concerns. I'm sure, obviously, that there's more out there that maybe have issues, but that's the only one that has brought it to my attention.
And the school came to us and they said if she removes this, she can come back. Did you consider that? Where was that thought process?
They had said if I removed it and I removed all social media, that's the most recent thing when they expelled the kids. They said.
So let's talk about that, because you mentioned removing all social media. What is OnlyFans? And, without getting into a whole lot of detail, what do you do on OnlyFans that could get these parents upset?
OnlyFans can be used for a lot of different things. For me particularly, it is explicit material, just my husband and I. But I'm not saying that. It's just simply a link on my car. And even then, it's blocked by a paywall, and you have to have ID to get through. You know, there's other websites out there that don't even require that have a lot easier access to see explicit material before mine would.
How long have you been doing OnlyFans?
There's a reason why I allow that to go a little bit further, and here's the reason why I allow this to go a little bit further over a minute, okay? Everything she says, okay, you can obviously cut it up with a knife. There's a million different ways you can skin a cat if you guys want to. The fact that she does it with her husband, okay. Now, me personally, I would never do this type of content with my wife if I was married. I never do this type of content with my girlfriend because obviously I wouldn't want this stuff out there. Granted, I love the whole, I love beautiful ladies as much as the next single man. But here's the thing that I need to say. What she was saying at the very end about paywalls, it's a link to my site, yada, 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 yada. I don't know if this lady understands this or not, but you can actually go to Instagram and you can actually find said person, said racy photos. You can go online and actually find this type of stuff without going to OnlyFans. Yes, there's a paywall there, but still at the same time, though, there's all kinds of other sites that funnel this type of content to other people. I mean, for every Pornhub site out there, there's probably 5 or 6 other sites out there. All you have to do is just type in a certain porn star's name, and therefore you will get that, and then you'll get a bunch of videos that kind of come along with it, or a bunch of different links that go to different ones, depending on the state that you're in or whatever. I don't know Florida's laws. What I'm simply saying is that the internet lives forever. A lot of these OnlyFans tots believe that their content just simply goes away when they pay a lawyer, and that's not the case. That content is always out there, and it wouldn't surprise me if little kids, even though they are in a Christian school, have not actually linked or actually gone to Piper Fawn's page or now Michelle Klein's page. The reason why I'm saying this is because now that the real name is out there and all over the place, people can in fact go there. So while the mainstream media or the Orlando media may have went out of their way to try to spin things more favorable to her, they may have actually done more harm than good. And of course, this person is milking it for every cent because let's be honest, all press is good press. The fact of the matter is that the internet does in fact live forever. It just does. I mean, the thing that you have to also consider, and I said this right here earlier, and I'm going to say it one more time, and I know that it sounds repetitive, but those pictures, that type of stuff there, and assuming because she's doing it with her husband, it's probably pornography related, those videos are around forever. You have to really and truly consider exactly what it is that you are doing before you start doing OnlyFans, okay? You have to really and truly think about this. And as I have said to men out there before, if you're paying somebody $5.99 a month just for photos, you're better off just going ahead and going to the bar and actually running into a girl and, I don't know, paying $5.99 or $6 for a beer or whatnot, striking up a conversation and trying to do it the old-fashioned way. Actually meet a real woman. I mean, I know women nowadays can be a bit of a drag, but let's just go ahead and face it. We are men. It is our, let's just say it's in our DNA to go out there and try to find a woman, try to find a wife. I'm just throwing it out there. It's kind of in our DNA to go do that. Do us all a favor, stop looking at photos. The more and more that you look at these photos, the more and more that you pay this woman the money, the more and more she goes out of her way to not only defile herself and her husband, but she also destroys her son, her kids. She destroys their reputations going forward. There was a lady that I think that did OnlyFans back in Texas. I think she was only about 35 or 36 years old. She was one of those girls who got married very young, had her children very young, and then for whatever reason, she chose to start posing. Her and her husband decided to start doing porn, and eventually they had to pull their kids out of school, and they had to send them to basically 100 miles away from the town that they were living. It happened in Texas back in 2021. But of course, this entire craze started during the pandemic. Girls started, taking all kinds of photos of themselves, putting it out there, putting it online, all that type of stuff there, and not realizing that the internet lives forever. And of course, they did that for a very, very small smidgen of money. But I'll let Sydney Watson kind of explain, roughly 40 some odd seconds. Don't worry, the full video will be linked in the description box. Like I said, this video that she did was more about the effects of OnlyFans on the family itself, but pay very close attention.
Matter here is that OnlyFans as a platform is probably not going anywhere anytime soon. And actually, I think you can extend that to any kind of adult content creation and these adult industries generally. There is an ever-growing market for this, and that means that there will be people to meet that demand. But as far as children go, it's sometimes very hard for me to wrap my head around why mothers especially would participate on a platform that that more than likely won't give them the financial freedom that they so desire, given that the vast majority of creators on OnlyFans only make somewhere between $150 to $180 a month. This is something else that I explored in detail in my OnlyFans regret video, so I won't rehash.
What she's saying at the very end is about 99.9% of the girls who do this type of content, they're defiling themselves for not even what a stripper makes on in an hour. I'm just throwing it out there. Now, how in the world do I know about strippers? Well, I'll go ahead and come on clean and go ahead and tell you. As somebody who was in the military, obviously some of the bases you get stationed at, sometimes the nightlife there is just good old-fashioned stripping. So when you're 18, 19 years old and you're a late bloomer, guess what you're probably going to do? If you live in a place like, say, or you're stationed somewhere like, say, I don't know, near Louisville, Kentucky, or maybe the town where Camp Lejeune is, which I'm not going to admit, well, Jacksonville, I'll just go ahead and say it. Chances are you're probably going to run into strip clubs. And guess what? A lot of those ladies who do that type of stuff for a living, they're not exactly, how do I say, single. A lot of times they have different men going all around them. So let's just put it this way here. I've been in and out of the bar before, so I know what the hell it's like. Not to mention the fact, if you've ever been stationed near Fort Bragg or you've ever been stationed near Cherry Point, Havelock, North Carolina, any of the military bases in Texas or in California or around the country, chances are you know there are strip clubs all over the place. These ladies right here are doing this crap on the internet, not realizing that their past is going to be seen by everybody in the world, because the internet does, in fact, live forever for, I guess you could say, pennies on the dollar. So not only are you defiling yourself, you're basically defiling yourself for practically nothing. And in the process, you're also ruining your children's reputation. Kids get bullied. Not only do kids get bullied, not only do they get picked on, but in some cases, these kids are walking around saying to themselves, look, I may want to self-delete or something like that because my mom is practically a whore at this moment in time. She's practically whoring herself out there. Even if she's not screwing around and not sleeping around, fact of the matter is it's obviously causing damage to these kids, if not at the house, definitely at the school, which of course is going to be brought back home where you have to deal with these problems. Now, what are some of the excuses that some of these ladies are putting out there for the type of content they're doing, the type of stuff that they're doing? Well, and let me make one more point really quick. The thing about OnlyFans is this right here, and I'll say this over and over again. The internet's forever. If a lady decides to go strip or take her clothes off for a living or do it inside of a strip club, chances are, and you'll find out here very, very shortly why I'm bringing this up and how it is that I know about this. A lot of times, girl will leave said place, put a hoodie on, go out in town with a hoodie on, whatnot. Nobody seems to recognize her. She picks her point, she picks her time, she picks her spots where to go do this, that, and the other chores or whatnot, and sometimes can even get away with it. Mostly because what's being seen is seen inside the club itself. I'm not condoning it. I just want to go and throw that out there. But it's being seen within the confines of a said installation, said building, not been put out there on display. There are some out there that will put the girls out there and you can actually see them plastered on town in certain places, but in some towns, not fully the case. I'm not condoning it, not saying you should be doing this, but what I'm saying is doing it in an environment like that versus doing it online. Let's just say, like I said before, the internet's forever, and it takes, even if you hire the best attorney in the world and pay all the money in the world to, how do I say, scrub the proof or scrub the photos off the internet, guess what? There are all kinds of other hack sites out there that get a hold of the videos and get a hold of the photos and put them out there. So once again, the internet wins. And even if it was his idea to have her start this OnlyFans account, it's still not a good look for either. But guys, tell me what you guys think in the comment section. I just figured I would end this weekday period out with a story that, quite frankly, I think is just a little bit strange, and how exactly strange it is, and how it is there's a lot of arrogance, a lot of smugness, and how it is that parents obviously don't care about their children, especially their mental well-being. I'll be leaving the other video in the description box. Just give me you guys' thoughts on this. Where I would really and truly love to hear what you guys have got to say about this. Obviously, these aren't exactly, how do I say, parents that think before they do stuff, but still, it just goes to show you exactly how low our society has become. With that right there being said, please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sound off in the comment section. I would love to hear what you guys have got to say. I'll see you guys later.